know shit about boxing.
But yeah, I want to talk about Dereck Chisora. I want to get George's take first, and then we'll come to you, Will, if that's all right. Yeah, put you on the spot a little bit. Kind of uncomfortable viewing at times, in my view, against Fury, although most people kind of expected it to be, I suppose. But what did you make of the fight, and what should he do now before we go to the man who can actually advise him what to do now?
My thoughts still haven't changed since last time. I think he's at the stage in his career where he's going to be in these fights because sometimes who else are they going to go through? You know what I mean? But he's also at the age and at the stage of his career where he needs to be getting fights to provide for his family, to secure his future, and I understand that aspect of him. He's never in a boring fight. Is it uncomfortable to watch? Yes. Do I like him being battered about? No. Do I want to see him fight again? No. Will I watch him again? Yeah. It's it's difficult, isn't it?
So, Will,
what are my opinions on it?
yeah, what are
us all the
you
secrets.
advising him to do at the moment,
Yeah.
I guess is the question.
So okay, the first thing that I will say is that, yes, we manage, we represent Dereck's interests, but when it comes to retiring, I don't think there is anybody that can say or force a fighter to retire. It's entirely the fighter's own decision. And whatever Dereck wants to do going forward, we will have to respect it. So I would never say to Dereck, well, I would, but like I could never decide for Dereck and force him to retire. It's entirely his decision, and we have to respect that it's his decision. Having said that, my personal opinion, I wanted Dereck to retire 2 fights ago.
Yeah.
I felt like
think we
he's
all
made a
did.
load of money already. He's secured his legacy. He's a legend of the sport. He's got a beautiful young family. Why? In my head, I'm like, why do you need to keep doing this? You can walk away now with your faculties intact and go and live the rest of your life that you've worked so hard to achieve. And I wanted that to happen a couple of fights ago. Now, it's all well and good saying that. I think the reality is it is so hard for these fighters who have done nothing else but this sport and training for the last 10, 15, 20, however many years to actually walk away from the limelight, from the attention, from the adrenaline rush of sparring, training camps, the build-up, the actual fight itself. It is so hard to walk away from that. And when they do, we've seen it with Kell Brook's interview recently. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like a part of them dies. And it's actually a really scary time for professional fighters immediately after they retire, because they're suddenly left with a void of time and they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing with themselves. So that's our job, to make sure that when the fighters do walk away, there's a plan in place for them post-career to keep them busy, whether it's doing a podcast, doing a book, doing broadcasting, keeping themselves active, so they've got a bit of structure to their lives. And that's a massively important part of our job post the fighter's career. Now, the Fury fight, I found it uncomfortable to watch as well. I thought it should have been, I would like to have seen him pulled out a couple of rounds before he was. I really didn't enjoy watching it. And, you know, I always felt like, you know, Dell's gone, he's taken a lot of the top fighters all the way in recent times. So, you know, we were speaking beforehand, and I'm trying to kind of, you know, present a way in which I can see Dereck winning, but I was always fearful that the fight would go the way that it did. Now, I understand why Dereck took that fight, because yes, he's made a lot of money, but, you know, that fight he was going to make more than he'd ever made in his career.
Yeah, it makes
and
sense.
It's a shot of the world title, and it's Tyson Fury, and it's Tottenham in front of 60,000. Like, what an unbelievable way that is to go out if that is going to be the last time that he fights. So I was fearful of that fight. It made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, I was nervous going into it, I'm not going to lie, but I understood the reasons why he wanted to take it. So if he wanted to take it, we had to make it happen for him, and that's what we did. But in my humble opinion, I would like to see him walk away from the sport now. I don't think there's anything left that he needs to prove. I think he's earned a lot of money, and like I said, he is a legend of the sport. Problem is, he's a huge ticket seller, so there's always going to be fights out there for him, you know. And the only way in which I could probably see myself getting on board with one more fight for him is that if he wanted to do something similar to Anthony Crolla, where you have essentially an exhibition, you get an absolute plumber in to just turn up and fall over, but he gets his moment in front of the British fans to say goodbye, but it's a very, very easy fight. If he wanted to do that, I could probably see myself supporting that, because that's his way of saying goodbye to the fans who he's had a really close bond with, particularly in the latter half of his career. But if it's a situation of he wants to go and fight Wilder, there's not a way in which I would want to be involved with that process. I think that would be a horrible thing to happen. Like I said, it's Dereck's decision, and he doesn't like people telling him what to do. And this has always been a bit of a internally a touchy subject for us to speak about. But I have to be honest and say I don't want that to happen. I would like him to retire now in an ideal world.
Yeah, it must be difficult when you've got such a close personal relationship as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like Danny turning up with his black eye.
Yeah.
It's awkward, but at least no one's mentioned it, so it's fine. I feel sorry for plumbers as well. They've become like synonymous with shit boxers. Why not carpenters or electricians?
Cab drivers, whatever you want to
I think
say.
Fury called David Price a plumber, or Tony Bellew, or both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he calls a lot of people a lot of different
things.
things.
Very good point, yeah.
Yo, Danny Flexen here. Think you know shit about boxing? There's only one way to find out. Listen to the full podcast via one of the links in the description, or go to secondsoutboxing.podbean.com.
Do you know shit about boxing?